Hey Juventini, I'm Alberto. This is the All Juve Cast channel and another episode of Juve Today. All right, so kicking us off, we have a rumor circulating around another midfielder, Sergio Oliveira, 29-year-old from Porto. Does that name ring a bell? It should, but not for anything good. He was the one that scored the goal that knocked Juventus out of the Champions League this past season. Do we want to bring him in? A 29-year-old midfielder? Let's look for some stronger names, in my opinion. Moving on. Atalanta. Atalanta moving closer to Mary Demiral. They just don't like the 35 to 40 million euro evaluation by Juventus. Tough. We shouldn't budge on our numbers, especially when we're in a situation where I don't feel we have to move Mary Demiral. So if that's the case, hang on to him, stick to your guns. We need to start getting better at selling players and not selling ourselves short. So yeah, if they don't like it, too bad. We're just fine hanging on to him, in my personal opinion. So don't make the move. Locatelli. Locatelli, it now, by some very, very credible sources, has been basically confirmed. He has given word to Juventus, and that a deal had been made dating back a year ago with Cannavale from Sassuolo that he wants Juventus, and now being confirmed that he has refused several offers abroad from other teams. So that is positive news and makes sense why Juve has taken so much time to get this deal done. It's because they know he's given his word to the club. So there you go on Locatelli. I think it's just a matter of time with a face-to-face meeting slated for early next week after this weekend. So let's go with that. De Sciglio to Lyon, not looking good, sadly. 6 to 7 million euros is deemed too much for the player from Lyon. It's hard to disagree with that, but it hurts so bad. I mean, 6 to 7 million euros, and we can't move this guy. We have to move him on, and we have to move Rugani on. So, yeah, that's a tough one. You know, you don't want to budge, but at some point, you've handcuffed yourself enough. He's just not worth a whole lot of money. That's where it stands. So it'll be interesting if Juve drops even further just to get a deal done for De Sciglio. He might hold more value somewhere in Italy, but I doubt it, to be honest. Pellegrini could finally make his way into the Juventus squad next season. He was brought in the deal that saw Spinazzola heading to Roma, which hurt many Juventini, myself included. Never wanted to see Spinazzola go, especially how he entered the club and started playing fantastic and outplaying Sandro, might I add. But anyways, we end up with Pellegrini, and we've never seen him in the Juve shirt in matches as he's been basically loaned out. So he could be coming back, which is great because if we're going to continue on with Alexandro, his minutes need to be managed. He constantly looks exhausted for Juventus, and we've run him hard for several years. It's time to back him up properly. So I like the idea of bringing Pellegrini in. Let's finally see what this kid can do for us, not judging him based on performances with some lower sides. Let's get him in. Let's see what he can do. Frabotta, on the other hand, the left back who was used by Pirlo this particular season, getting some minutes. I think we can all agree he's just not quite ready for Juventus after what we saw last season, which was starting off great at the beginning of the season, but really looking so-so in his other showings throughout the season. And he is very close to a move to Genoa, which may or may not contain a buyback option. So Juventus is obviously working on that. Now, I'm going to ask you, would you be okay with moving Frabotta without a buyback option? Do you think Juventus needs to hang on to Frabotta? Let me know your thoughts. Drop your comments on the video here. In terms of Aaron Ramsey, Arsenal is now in the mix, which is good because that's a team, obviously, he joined us from, and he would probably love to go back to. because we know the other teams that have been linked with him, West Ham and Aston Villa and Crystal Palace. He's not excited about joining those teams. Arsenal would obviously excite him and entice him to leave, and we need to get his high wage off the books in order to make a move. Because as we know, Juventus now, it's confirmed by some credible sources, will be making 2 midfield additions. Locatelli will be one, and the other one is the name that we're all wondering who it's going to be. And of course, Aaron Ramsey, not worth the wage, in my personal opinion, and always injured. We need to bring in somebody strong. Speaking of some other players who were linked, Pjanic, Çalhanoğlu, their names have been circulating in the offseason around Juventus. They're not going to be joining. Those names have basically been listed as non-targets for Juventus and not part of their plans. It's not to say something won't happen. It's just highly unlikely and could be like a plan B or maybe even C scenario, but don't see it happening. And honestly, I feel good about that. I think we need to set our sights on stronger players. Speaking of stronger players, Tielemans. Tielemans is a name that's picking up steam surrounding Juventus, and they will be really looking at bringing him in. This would be incredible. We've talked about Tielemans a few episodes ago. Would love to see him in a Juve kit. Going to be a very hard deal to make. Not sure how Juventus will make this one work, and Leicester's fighting very hard to try and extend the player's contract to protect themselves. But again, anything can happen. Tielemans, this is the kind of player, this is the kind of names you want to hear your squad linked with. So great news there. In terms of last news surrounding Juventus, 300 to 400 million euro capital increase through Exor is what Juventus is studying now and seeing if they can make work for the next season. Very interesting stuff. And we'll have to keep tabs on that to see how they're going to make that one work. In terms of last news surrounding Euro 2020 and Juventus, Adrien Rabiot will be in action today for France facing Hungary, and tomorrow Italy set to face Wales. They will be wearing black armbands in memory of Gianpiero Bonaparti, and Federico Chiesa will be slated to start, and Chiellini is recovering from his injury quite well. Probably won't get minutes as Italy has already qualified for the knockouts, but Chiellini is healing up quite nicely and should be available further in the tournament. So great news on all of that. That wraps up this episode of Juve Today, and please keep in mind, as far as Italy and the Azzurri go tomorrow facing Wales, that we will have a live match day live tomorrow talking about the Azzurri, getting ready for that match and covering the news this week surrounding Juventus. So join us for that live, and please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you set the reminders and join us for that live, because it's going to be a lot of fun, and get your questions, comments on the show. Thanks everybody for the support. We'll see you tomorrow. Forza Juve, fino alla fine.